Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. We're diving deep into the kind of stories that are best told with the lights off, huddled under a blanket, maybe with a flashlight under your chin for dramatic effect. These are the tales that have been passed down for generations, whispered around campfires and at sleepovers, the ones that make the hairs on your arms stand up and have you checking over your shoulder. They're classic, they're terrifying, and they have a way of sticking with you long after you've heard them. So, I invite you to get comfortable, maybe grab a snack, but don't get too relaxed. We're about to explore 5 chilling tales that blur the line between urban legend and nightmare. These stories tap into our most primal fears. The fear of being alone, the fear of the unknown, and the terrifying possibility that we're not as safe in our own homes as we think we are. This is your official warning. What you're about to hear is designed to unsettle you, so go ahead, turn off the lights if you dare. Let the darkness settle in around you and listen closely. Because tonight, the shadows are listening back. Let's begin. Our first story takes us to a classic scene, a place that feels both romantic and incredibly isolated, Lover's Lane. Imagine a young couple, parked under the stars on a secluded winding road overlooking the city. The radio is playing some soft, forgettable tune, and the only other sound is the gentle rustling of leaves in the night breeze. They're completely lost in their own little world, feeling that teenage invincibility we all remember. It's a perfect, peaceful night, the kind that feels like it could last forever. But as we know, perfect nights in stories like these rarely stay that way for long. Suddenly, the music on the radio cuts out. A crackle of static, and then a serious, urgent voice breaks the silence. The announcer issues a stark warning. A convicted killer, a man known for having a sharp, deadly hook in place of his right hand, has just escaped from a nearby asylum. The report urges everyone in the area to be on high alert, to lock their doors and stay inside. The girl, understandably, is terrified. The idyllic mood is shattered. She insists they leave immediately, her heart pounding with the sudden intrusion of real-world horror into their peaceful bubble. The boy, trying to be brave or maybe just a little too cocky, scoffs at the idea. He insists they're perfectly safe. He teases her for being scared, trying to calm her down. But her fear is contagious. Every snap of a twig, every hoot of a distant owl now sounds like a threat. The darkness outside the car windows no longer feels comforting. It feels oppressive, hiding unknown dangers. Finally, after much pleading, he relents. He puts the car in gear, annoyed but agreeing to take her home. But as he stomps on the gas, the car lurches and then screeches to a halt with a terrible scraping sound. A sound like metal dragging on metal. A sound that definitely wasn't the engine. He gets out to see what's wrong, disappearing into the pitch-black night, leaving her alone with the announcer's words echoing in her head. This next one preys on a fear many of us have had, being responsible for someone else's safety in a house that isn't yours. A teenage girl is babysitting for a wealthy family in a large, sprawling house. The parents are out for the evening. The kids are tucked safely into their beds upstairs, and the house is quiet, too quiet. She settles onto a plush couch in the living room to watch TV, but a strange sense of unease begins to creep in. The house is full of unfamiliar shadows and creaks, and she can't shake the feeling that she's being watched. It's a big house, with lots of windows and lots of empty rooms. Just as she's starting to relax, the phone rings. She answers, expecting it to be the parents checking in. But there's only silence on the other end, followed by a man's raspy, low voice. He asks a simple, terrifying question. "Have you checked the children?" She dismisses it as a prank call, maybe a friend trying to scare her, and hangs up, her pulse quickening. She tries to focus on the movie, but the silence of the house now seems heavier, more menacing. A few minutes later, the phone rings again. It's the same man, his voice a little more insistent this time. "Have you checked the children?" Now she's truly frightened. This is no longer a joke. She locks the doors and tries to tell herself it's just some creep with a phone book. But he calls again and then again, each call coming sooner than the last. His voice grows more agitated, more threatening. Terrified, she calls the police to report the harassment. The operator, sensing the panic in her voice, agrees to trace the call, but tells her she needs to keep the man on the line for at least a minute. When he calls back, she forces herself to stay on, listening to his heavy breathing, her hand trembling as she holds the receiver. After what feels like an eternity, the operator comes back on the line, her voice filled with an urgency that chills the babysitter to the bone. "Get out of the house now! The calls are coming from inside the house. He's on the upstairs line." Chapter 3. Our third tale begins on a lonely, rain-slicked highway late at night. A lone driver is making his way through a storm, the rhythmic thump of the windshield wipers doing little to soothe his frayed nerves. The rain is coming down in sheets, visibility is low, and he's miles from the next town. It's the kind of night where you just want to be home, safe and dry. Through the deluge, his headlights catch a figure standing on the side of the road. A young woman, soaked to the bone, wearing a thin white dress that seems completely inappropriate for the weather. She's just standing there, her thumb out, looking lost and desperate. Despite the late hour and the eerie circumstances, his conscience gets the better of him. He can't just leave her out here in this storm. He pulls over, and she gratefully climbs into the passenger seat, shivering. She gives him an address in the next town, and he pulls back onto the highway. She's quiet, offering only short, polite answers to his questions. He drapes his jacket over her shoulders to help her warm up. The rest of the drive is mostly silent, the only sounds being the storm and the hum of the engine. He feels a strange sadness emanating from her, a quiet melancholy that fills the small space of the car. He finally pulls up to the address she gave him, a small, well-kept house with its lights on. He turns to tell her they've arrived, but she's gone. The passenger seat is empty. The door never opened. He never heard a sound. She just vanished. All that's left is his jacket, still draped over the empty seat, and a small puddle of water on the floor mat. Confused and more than a little spooked, he decides to knock on the door of the house, thinking maybe she ran inside without him noticing. An elderly couple answers, and when he explains that he just dropped off a young woman, a look of profound sadness crosses their faces. The man explains that the girl he's describing is their daughter. She was killed in a car crash on that very stretch of road, years ago to the day. Every year, on the anniversary of her death, she tries to find a ride home. Chapter 4. Let's return to another babysitter, another big, unfamiliar house. This one is particularly lavish, filled with expensive art, strange sculptures, and artifacts from the family's travels. The parents are out, the kids are asleep, and the sitter is making herself at home. While exploring the downstairs den, she notices something in the corner of the room that immediately sets her on edge. It's a life-sized statue of a clown. It's sitting in a rocking chair, its painted smile a grotesque leer in the dim light. The colours are garish, the expression is unsettling, and its glass eyes seem to follow her as she moves around the room. She tries to ignore it, telling herself it's just a weird piece of decor from a family with eccentric taste. But she can't shake the feeling of being watched. The clown's presence is oppressive, making the large room feel small and suffocating. She eventually decides she can't stand being in the same room with it anymore. So she retreats to the living room and calls the father to ask a seemingly strange question. She explains that the kids are fine, but she's a little creeped out by the clown statue in the den. She asks if it would be okay if she covered it with a blanket for the rest of the night. There's a long, heavy pause on the other end of the line. The father's voice, when he finally speaks, is tight with controlled panic. "Listen to me very, very carefully," he says, his voice low and urgent. Get the children, go to the neighbors, call 911 right now. The babysitter is confused. Why? What's wrong? She asks, her own fear starting to rise. The father's reply is a sentence that will haunt her forever. We don't have a clown statue. Before she can even process his words, she hears the slow, deliberate creak of the rocking chair from the other room. Chapter 5. Our final story is perhaps the most personal, because it can happen to any of us, in the one place we're supposed to be safest, our own bathroom. Imagine you've just woken up in the middle of the night. The house is dark and silent. You stumble into the bathroom, your eyes still adjusting to the darkness, and you flick on the light. The sudden brightness is jarring. You stand in front of the mirror over the sink, your reflection looking tired and hazy. You splash some cold water on your face, trying to wake yourself up, your head bowed over the basin. It's a mundane, everyday moment you've repeated thousands of times. You keep your head down for a moment, letting the water drip from your chin. The only sound is the soft into the porcelain sink. The house is so quiet you can hear the hum of the refrigerator from the kitchen. You feel a sudden, inexplicable chill, a primal sense of dread that has no logical source. It's that feeling you get when you think you're alone, but some ancient instinct screams that you're not. You tell yourself you're just tired, that your mind is playing tricks on you in the dead of night. But the feeling persists, growing stronger with every passing second. Slowly, hesitantly, you lift your head. Your eyes meet your own reflection in the mirror, but for a split second, just over your shoulder, you see it. It's not clear, just a blur of motion, a dark shape standing in the doorway behind you. Your heart stops. Your blood runs cold. You whip around, expecting to confront an intruder, a monster, anything. But there's nothing there. The doorway is empty. The hallway is dark and silent. You turn back to the mirror, your breath catching in your throat, your own terrified face staring back at you. But now you know, you're not alone. And the thing you saw, it's still in the room with you. You just can't see it anymore. And with that, our tales for this dark night come to a close. The silence returns, but maybe it feels a little heavier now. Maybe that shadow in the corner of your eye seems a little darker, a little more defined. These stories, whether they're just legends or whispers of something true, tap into our deepest anxieties. They remind us that the world can be a strange and terrifying place, and that sometimes the most frightening things are the ones we can't explain. A strange noise outside, an unnerving phone call, or a fleeting glimpse of something that shouldn't be there. The beauty and the horror of these tales is that they don't just end when the story is over. They linger. They plant a seed of doubt and fear that can grow in the darkness. They become your own story the next time you're babysitting in a strange house or driving down a lonely road at night. They make you question the familiar and fear the unknown. And that, my friends, is the enduring power of a good, scary story. It follows you home and tucks you into bed. So now, I turn it over to you. Which story will keep you up tonight? Was it the hook on the car door, the call from upstairs, the ghost on the highway, the clown that wasn't a statue, or the thing you can only see in the mirror? Let me know in the comments below. And if you have a chilling tale of your own, something that happened to you or a friend, I dare you to share it. Until next time, try to get some sleep if you can.